It's time for Around the Ozarks Wake Up Weather, sponsored by Command Family Medicine and Taylor Grubaugh Chevrolet. Here's your host, meteorologist Abby Dyer.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your Monday. It is June 9th somehow, and we are waking up to temperatures that are fairly pleasant across the Ozarks. Numbers, in fact, in the upper 50s in some locations, low 60s for others. Yesterday, though, that cold front came through. Yeah, those were with the storms that you heard late yesterday evening. Some severe weather in the Ozarks, primarily in the form of some really heavy downpours, some high winds, as well as some hail reports across the region. So we are looking at a much calmer day in comparison. We are now on the backside of that cold front, and the main effect for us is going to be some drier weather as we begin the new week. We need the dry time across the Ozarks, and that's exactly what we're going to get today, tomorrow, and on Wednesday, looking like a dry stretch. So I know the grass has been growing like crazy. We've had a bit too much water in some places, some flooding issues over the weekend. And yes, now we are going to see the drier days break through. Sunshine, in fact, will show itself today too. I'm expecting the clouds to decrease as the day wears on. There's plenty of activity across the country today. The cold front that came through for us is now kind of stretching across much of the Ohio River Valley, back down into the Tennessee Valley, and all the way down into portions of South Texas. The rain and thunderstorm activity, well, that's going with it. And here on the backside of the cold front in the Ozarks, we are going to see a north breeze that may pick up a bit through the day. Northwest winds 5 to 10 miles an hour this morning. They may gust to 20 as we head into the afternoon hours, so just be mindful of that. I think high temperatures today will be either side of 80 degrees. So our northern counties may stay in the upper 70s, while others down south may make it to the low 80s. What we are seeing, though, is that dew point temperature really drop. So relative humidity values are coming down. We're going to see numbers that are on the cool side in the evenings, and then numbers in the afternoon will be nice and warm. We have a summer-like stretch of days coming up with staying dry as we head into Wednesday of this week. We'll have to watch the end of the week. Once again, the weather is looking fairly active. Overall, in the long-term setup, I see the late week forecast Thursday, Friday, maybe even into Saturday of this weekend, bringing more active and wet weather to the Ozarks. We could see some additional problems with flooding. You know, we've been making headlines with all of the water for much of southwest Missouri and northwest Arkansas, and it looks like the weekend forecast may add to the rain in the forecast. So this is something I'm keeping my eye on, but you're going to want to pay attention to that late week and early weekend forecast once again, because even small amounts of water at this point are too much in many locations. And if they fall over one of our reservoirs and allow for an increase in water levels, well, that becomes a problem when we are so waterlogged across the region already. The outlook this week, though, looking pretty great through about Wednesday. I have a better chance for rain and storms developing by Thursday and Friday. I think some of the warmest days this week will be Tuesday and Wednesday. If you're looking for some pool time, it's been kind of hard to carve that out, and we are finally going to get some of that by Tuesday and Wednesday. Today doesn't look bad either, but keep in mind that it's a bit of a cooler day with highs staying in the 70s for some and the northwest wind in the forecast. Around the country, here's what's making headlines: high winds and hail that's possible again for the southern plains. We also have warmer than average conditions for much of the country. That's expected through the month of June as overall the outlook. So even though we have temperatures that don't seem too terribly hot, we are running a little bit above average in my extended forecast. And this is also the case across much of the country. The drought is persisting out in the western half of the country, but we're seeing some improvement in those drought conditions, especially along the East Coast. And the other thing I'm monitoring is an area of low pressure off the southeast coast. The National Hurricane Center is watching it for potential tropical development, and it does appear that that storm system could bring some heavy rain to Georgia and the Carolinas this week. So that's something that we're watching closely as well. Speaking of tropical weather, I had a string of tropical weather trivia questions, and I'm going to continue that this week because we are now in the season for tropical weather. Here's a look at the Around the Ozarks brain twister trivia question from last week. In the Atlantic and Eastern Pacific, tropical cyclones are called hurricanes. But what are they called in the Northwest Pacific? I'm sure you've heard this term, but it may not be clear why it's defined this way. Do you think it's A, cyclones, B, typhoons, C, monsoons, or D, tornadoes? all cyclones. But B, typhoons is the correct answer. So congrats if that was your guess. A typhoon is the name for a strong tropical cyclone that occurs in the Northwest Pacific Ocean. It's essentially the same thing as a hurricane, but it's called a typhoon when it forms in that specific region. Typhoons are characterized by their intense swirling winds, heavy rainfall, and potential for widespread destruction. So now you know if it's in the Northwest Pacific, it is not a hurricane, it is a typhoon, but the risks remain the same. All right, here's your next quiz question. Which of these is a common characteristic of a tropical monsoon climate? Do you think it is A, a consistent rainfall throughout the year, B, distinct wet and dry seasons, C, extremely low humidity through the year, or D, frequent snowstorms? Which of these is a common characteristic of a tropical monsoon climate? You can let me know your guess. That's at aroundtheozarks.com. I sure appreciate you starting off your week here with us at Around the Ozarks, and I want to wish you a great Monday. I hope your week is off to a fantastic start. The weather is going to cooperate. So I guess, one thing is done for the day and the start of the new week. Beautiful day in the Ozarks, northwest breeze, sunshine, and a high temperature either side of 80 degrees. Thanks so much to Command Family Medicine and Taylor Grubaugh Chevrolet.